There was a stretch in my life where the wins kept on coming. From 2014 to 2016, 3 years straight. Year 1, we won Rookie of the Year. Entrepreneur.com wrote an article about us. In year 2, we were the #1 franchise in the entire network. In year 3, we exited for millions of dollars. From the outside, that looked like luck or talent or some kind of magic, but it really wasn't. It was momentum, and it was earned, not granted. And then I lost it. After that exit, the dust settled and the people that I had built with were gone. Different paths, different companies. By 2020, the world flipped on me. No business, no income, and no platform to build on. I had to rebuild everything from scratch, create momentum again. And I did, all by myself. Daily habits, the daily fight. Going to work when I didn't want to get out of bed and pushing forward instead of calling it quits. I got it back. I built it for 2 years straight, and in 2022, I'm scaling my business as a solo operator, and in Q3, I hit a peak. $101,000 in profit in 90 days, all by myself. So I went and I hired my first 2 employees in October. By November, the market crashed. We lost 53% of our overall volume. We didn't lose customers, we lost volume. Everything slowed down. I had almost $200,000 in new payroll that had just started, and on their first month, I lost $6,000. The second month, I lost 10. I had to stop the bleeding, but these were not just employees, these were friends. People I'd worked with before, people who had put themselves and their families at risk for my vision. I wasn't going to let them down. I wasn't going to fail them. 2023, I took on a 6-month consulting agreement to build somebody else's freight brokerage at the same time I was building mine. So the lights would stay on, so my team would still have a job. Lost momentum to a market crash, had to rebuild it, and I had to do it fast. Build my own momentum and somebody else's at the same time, simultaneously. And I want to be very clear about what momentum actually is, because most people get this wrong. Momentum is not a feeling. It's not a hype reel. It's not motivation. It's what shows up after you've already put 4 other things in place. Identity, your vision of where you're going, the right people, and when you're practicing mastery. When those 4 lock in, momentum starts to compound on top of them. And not until. I've felt it. I've lost it 3 times now. I've rebuilt it 3 separate times. And here's what I've learned. Losing momentum isn't the question. Everybody loses it. The real question is how fast you can build it back. That's the difference between a career and a comeback. Today, I'm walking you through all 3. How you get it, how you'll lose it, and how you rebuild it. Life isn't what happens to us. It's what we make together. I'm your host, Randy Vlasic, and welcome to Life is What We Make It, built on 5 pillars: identity, vision, people, mastery, and momentum. Now let's get into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Life is What We Make It. I'm your host, Randy Vlasic. If you've been following along in this pillar series, here's where we've been. In episode 3, we talked about identity, who you are when everything is stripped away. In episode 4, we talked about the vision, where you're going. In episode 5, we talked about the people who you're building with and who's in your circle. And in episode 6, we talked about mastery, how you keep getting better when every new level makes you feel like a beginner again. Today is episode 7, momentum, pillar 5. And this is the last of the foundational pillars, the 5 that build on top of each other. After this one, the framework is yours. And here's why I save momentum for last, because momentum is not its own thing. It's the output. It's what happens when the 4 other pillars are actually working underneath it. You can't shortcut your way to it. You can't manifest it. You can't hype yourself into it. It only shows up when you've done the work that nobody clapped for. That's why most people never feel real momentum. They want the result without the foundation. They want the feeling of being unstoppable without paying for it daily. So today, I'm walking you through 4 things. The first one is why momentum is earned, not granted. The second is how small wins compound into something that nobody else sees coming. The third is why momentum is never yours to keep and how comfort and the world will both come for it. And finally, how to restart from zero when it's gone, because everybody loses it at some point. So real quick, if this is your first time here, please hit subscribe, hit follow, whatever platform you're on. This show is built for people who are actually doing the work, not just talking about it. Let's get it. When I look back at the franchise years now, the thing that stands out to me is how invisible the foundation was leading up to that point. You know, nobody saw the 3 years before that. Nobody saw the cold calls in 2010 or 2011 or in 2012. Nobody saw the rejection. Nobody saw a kid making $35,000 a year chasing his best friend on the phones. Nobody saw the years of building sales muscle nobody else thought was glamorous. By the time we won Rookie of the Year in 2014, the foundation was already there. Vision, where I was going, where I wanted to be in life, the people around me, and years of mastery in sales and operations and in handling rejection without flinching, built quietly, painfully, for years. The franchise didn't create my momentum. It revealed it. That's the part most people miss. Momentum, it looks like an event from the outside. From the inside, though, it's a residue. It's what's left over after you've put in the work that nobody else clapped for. If you're sitting there right now wondering why you don't have momentum, the answer is almost always upstream. You don't have it because either you don't know what your identity is, or maybe you have the wrong identity, or your vision of where you're going or where you're going to be in year 3 or 5 is unclear, or you're surrounded by people who pull you backwards, or maybe haven't put in the reps to actually be good at the thing you're trying to win at. Don't try to fix momentum. Fix what's underneath it. Momentum is the receipt, not the work. Here's something nobody tells you about momentum. It doesn't start big. It starts smaller than you'd think it should, smaller than feels worth it, smaller than anybody would notice. When I was making cold calls in 2010, every single call by itself was nothing. It was one call. It was one no. It was one hang up. By itself, it didn't really matter. But I made 100 a day for 3 years. That's somewhere around 75,000 calls. And somewhere in the pile of nothing, I became somebody who knew freight, who would read a shipper in the first 10 seconds, who could close business, who could handle rejection without flinching. Not from one call, from all of them. The same thing happened after COVID. When the job was gone in 2020, I was at zero. No income, no platform, no team. I started LIWMI with nothing but the foundation that I had built years before that. And the rebuild looked like garbage from the outside. It was one call. It was one customer, one process I had to write because nobody had written it for me. I didn't have a blueprint. Day after day, month after month, with nothing visible to show for it. For 2 years, it looked like nothing. Then in 2022, the math caught up. I was a solo operator running a brokerage, and I made $101,000 in profit in 90 days, all by myself. That number didn't show up because of one good week. It showed up because of 2 years of unglamorous reps that finally compounded. The reps you don't see are the reps that build the result everybody else sees. And this isn't just my story. Look at Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Before Spanx even existed, she spent 7 years selling fax machines door to door, 7 years of cold calls, 7 years of rejection, 7 years of building nothing on paper. By the time she put $5,000 of her own savings into starting Spanx in 2000, the foundation was already there. The thick skin, the sales muscle, the discipline of showing up to nothing. Then she pitched the product herself. No investors. Got into Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, Oprah's Favorite Things later that same year. And she built it over 20 years before selling a majority stake in 2021, valuing the company at over $1 billion without ever taking outside investors. Spanked looked like an overnight success, but it wasn't. It was 7 years of fax machines compounding into a company nobody saw coming. That's not magic. That's the math. That's how momentum actually works. Boring reps, no visible return until one day there is one. If you're in the building zone right now, this is what I need you to hear. The reps are stacking. You can't see it. Nobody can. But the math doesn't care about what you can see. It just keeps adding. Momentum is invisible until it's undeniable. The people who get there are not luckier than you, not more talented. They're people that kept going through the building zone. That's it. Math adds one by one until it becomes a multiplier. That's momentum. Don't chase the breakthrough. Chase the next rep. Now here's the trap that's harder than any of the rest. When momentum finally shows up, your instinct is going to be to coast on it, to enjoy it, to take your foot off the gas because you finally feel like you're winning. I've fought this trap for years because the truth is momentum is never yours to keep. You don't bank it. You don't store it. You feed it daily or it leaves. Momentum is a tax that has to be paid every single day. The day you stop paying for it, it starts draining. And here's the part nobody talks about. Even when you're paying for it, the world can still come for it. External forces don't care about your discipline. They don't care that you've been doing the daily reps. They don't care how much it costs you to get where you are. In Q3 of 2022, I hit my solo operator peak, 101 grand in profit in 90 days, all by myself. I was paying the tax. I wasn't coasting. I knew I needed help to scale, so in October, I hired my first 2 employees, 2 friends, people I'd worked with before, people who left other roles to come build with me. In November, the market crashed, and we lost 53% of our overall volume, just like that. I had almost $200,000 in new payroll that had just started, and on their first month, I lost $6,000. The second month, I lost $10,000. That wasn't comfort costing me momentum. That was the market that was a force outside of anything I controlled.
Use the force, Luke.
And it did not care how hard I worked to get where I was. The lesson here is brutal, but it's important. The people who hold momentum over decades are not the ones who never face a setback. They're the ones that never coast on a peak, and the ones who can rebuild fast when the world flips on them. Both things at once. Comfort is one way to lose momentum. Markets are another. Life can be another. You can't control all of them. What you can control is whether you're still feeding it when you have it, and whether you're ready to fight for it when you don't. But here's the truth most people don't want you to hear. Comfort kills more momentum than any market crash ever will. The market crash happens to you. Comfort is something you do to yourself. So if you're sitting on a peak right now, hear me. The peak is not the prize. The peak is where most people fall because the peak is where the gravity is hardest to feel. Don't celebrate yourself off the path that got you there. So if you've lost it, the peak is gone. The wins aren't coming. The doubt is loud. What do? Let me tell you what I did when the market crashed at the end of 2022. I had 2 choices. I could let my new team go and protect myself, or find a way to keep the lights on without failing them. These were friends. They had put themselves and their families at risk for my vision. I wasn't going to let them down. So in January of 2023, I took on a 6-month consulting agreement to build someone else's freight brokerage with a person that I had just met when God showed up in my life because he knew I needed him. 2 sets of businesses, 2 sets of momentum. One of those I owned. The other one I didn't. And here's the thing. I was already 10 steps ahead on the new brokerage because I just built one from scratch. I knew exactly what to do. I knew the playbook. So I ran meetings back to back, one with my team and then another one with theirs, all day, every day. I built both companies simultaneously. That was the rebuild, not motivational, not glamorous. I built somebody else's company in the morning so I could keep building mine in the afternoon. I kept my team employed while the market caught back up. And if you want to see this play out in somebody else's life, look at Steve Jobs. In 1985, Jobs got fired from Apple, the company that he started. He was pushed out of his own house. For most founders, that's the end of the story. He could have called it, but he didn't. For the next 12 years, he built two other things. Next, an operating system company, and Pixar, the studio that made Toy Story. To everybody watching, those years looked like exile. Jobs was gone. Then in 1997, Apple was 90 days away from bankruptcy. They bought Next to save themselves, and Jobs came back. He didn't come back empty-handed either. He came back with everything that he built during the exile. The Next operating system became Mac OS X, the foundation that Apple still runs on today. Pixar made him a billionaire and gave him the credibility to swing big. The 12 years that looked like he'd been knocked off the mountain were the years where he was building a platform that let him climb back to the top of it. What you build during the fall is what makes the rebuild possible. The work you do when nobody is clapping is the work that compounds when they finally are. You don't restart momentum with a moment. You restart it with a rep. And sometimes the rep doesn't even look like your own work. Sometimes the rep is whatever it takes to keep the foundation alive while you find your way back. I'd already learned this lesson once before. If you're sitting at zero right now, this is your move. You don't need motivation. You don't need a plan that fixes everything. You need the smallest possible rep you can take today, and then take another one tomorrow, and then another one the day after that. You won't feel momentum on day 1. You won't feel it on day 60. But somewhere down the line, the math stops adding and it starts multiplying. Not because something drastic happened, because you kept showing up while nobody was watching. That's how you rebuild it. And one more thing on this. When you're rebuilding, the foundation underneath you matters more than ever. Because if any of the first 4 pillars are broken, the rebuild won't work. You'll add reps, but they won't compound. So before you grind your way back to it, you have to check. Is identity intact? Do I have the right identity? Do I know what my vision is for the next 3 or 5 years and where I'm going? What are the right people that I want in my circle, the right people that I want around me building? Am I still actually getting better at the work, or am I just doing the work? And if any of those 4 are off, fix that first. Then the reps will hold. Foundation first, reps second. That's the only order that builds anything that lasts. And I can't talk about momentum without talking about faith, because for me, they're connected. Faith is also earned. It's not granted. It's not the loud moments. It's not the mountaintop experience. Real faith is built quietly, day to day. In the moments where nothing makes sense and you choose to keep showing up anyway. Galatians 6:9 says, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap the harvest if we do not give up." That's the same equation. The harvest doesn't come on day 1. It doesn't come on day 60. It comes at the proper time, and the proper time only shows up for the people who didn't give up. When I was rebuilding LIWMI from zero in 2020, faith was the thing that kept me feeding momentum when I couldn't see it. When the market crashed at the end of 22 and I was working 2 businesses to keep my team employed, faith was the thing that kept me from quitting. Some days the only reason I kept going was because I trusted that the work mattered, even when I had no proof. That's faith and momentum at the same time. They feed each other. The reps build on the faith. The faith feeds the reps. And on the days you can't see anything else, that loop is what carries you forward. So let me tie this all together for you. Know who you are and what you were called here to do. God will tell you if you let him. Vision is the place you are in 3 years, and the gaps between where you are now and where you're going is the roadmap to get there. When you have the right people in your circle, in your life, and when you put in the reps, momentum will show up. And when it does, don't coast. Keep stacking, keep learning, keep getting better. Get uncomfortable. And then when you get knocked off the mountain, and you will get knocked off, have faith and keep going. That's the work. Now, here's the thing. The movement is bigger than this podcast. It's bigger than the framework. The movement is about you taking ownership of your own life. That's the work. Use the framework to build yourself. Build something meaningful with it. And then use your business or whatever you build, whatever you lead, whatever you create as a vehicle to do good in this world. That's the point of any of this. Not the wins, not the exit, not the title. The good you can do because you built something that gave you the means to do it. Then share your story so somebody else can do the same. Not my story, not my pillars. Your story. What you're building. What you're surviving. What you're learning along the way. What you're using your work to do for other people. The movement grows when one person takes ownership of their life, builds something that matters and uses it for good, inspires somebody else to do the same exact thing. And then that person inspires somebody else, and another, and another. I can't build that by myself. Life is not what you make it. It's what we make it. That's why I need your help. So if any of this is hitting for you, take the framework, build yourself, use your work as a vehicle to do good, and bring somebody else along. And help me get this in front of more people. Share an episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Share a clip that hit you. Share your own story. That's how the movement finds the next person who's ready to take ownership of their own life. Build something meaningful with me. Next week is one of those people, Martin Rowan, the founder of Reveal, the friend who handed me the book that started my whole identity journey in the first place. His identity is healer, and he's lived up to it in my life more than once. We're going to sit down and have a real conversation. No script, identity, leadership, and building a business with purpose. What it actually takes to lead through a crisis. He shows up. So make sure you're following the show wherever you're listening. Hit subscribe, hit follow, so when Martin's episode drops, it shows up for you. Life is what we make it. I'll see you on the next one.